Thank you all for attending. My name is Joe Kieses. I'm the president of Bravada Gold Corporation. We are a kind of a prospect generator, sort of a hybrid model of a prospect generator. This is one of our projects here that has had prior production being exploration. We're going to do a lot of forward-looking statements, so be aware. We're looking at what we're going to find. So the value proposition here is that we've got a very attractive group of projects that we've accumulated over the last, 20 years, pretty much. At any rate, what we try to do is, as explorers, we're trying to catch this part of the value curve here on the Lassonde curve, and then bring in a partner that is experienced in mining. So what we're going to do here is talk about a couple of the projects. Why Nevada? Nevada is a great place to explore. A lot of you may not know that there are a lot of very large deposits still being discovered here. This is AngloGold Ashanti's discovery, came out just under 2 years ago at 3 million ounces plus. It's over 4 million ounces. They have another discovery on the far south end of the project. They think it's going to be between 6 and 8 million ounces of gold. So these are some great deposits that are being discovered. One thing here, another deposit. It's been in production for 23 years. This is the Midas deposit. To the east, there was a center deposit that had virtually no gold at the surface, and then they announced some of these bonanza grades. So really, the deposits we're finding are larger. They tend to be under mineralization that is not economic. In other words, we're finding these big deposits under almost anomalous grade gold mineralization. So that's something to know. I'm going to talk through a few of these deposits that we have right now. We have 10 projects throughout the state. Just something that I need to remind usually young geologists is that really to be an ore deposit, that means that you have to be able to produce it at a profit, right? So it's important to know what the margin is. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because one of our core projects is grade challenge. You typically look at grade and think, well, there's your margin. Well, that's not really true. There's a lot of things that are taken into account. How do you mine it? Is the metallurgy good? What's the strip ratio? So this is a property that we have that we've held on to quite a while. It's somewhat low grade, but there are a number of issues that make this a very good margin. And you can see some of those there. The yellow circles are areas where I've outlined mineralization that comes to the surface. So there is one issue with the project. There's a big power line here. It goes from the Lake Bonneville power plant directly to Los Angeles. So, the people in Hollywood don't want us to shut off the power to Los Angeles, so we probably can't move that. What we did is we hired one of the local engineering companies to take a look at a stepwise approach. The red line is a power line, so we can't put a mine, we can't move that. We'll just assume that. So we looked at the possibility of doing it in stages. So there is an area that's near the edge of the deposit. Very, very profitable, a good margin, 38% internal rate of return. And how do you do that? Well, you have very low strip ratio, very low mining costs. You're doing heap leach, in this case, no crushing. That's how the mine was produced in the, in the 1990s. So it's pretty profitable. You take a look at the operation here. So the blue is the area where we have this phase 1 program where that's a heap leach. The red is what you can take out in the first 4 years. There's another 2 years that are in the pit designated resource. That was done at $1,750 gold and for $24 silver. So it's pretty conservative. But the blue part, which is basically making that pit deeper, there's not enough room on here. So where's another area? There is another pad up here. We looked at it. We can add a pad space for that from the cash flow from this operation. So why not do that? Well, there's some gold that sticks out of the ground. These little dots here are soil samples. Some of these are ore grade. The mineralization is sticking out of the ground. The dark brown here, these are resource blocks, or can't call them resource anymore because they're not in a pit, but those are blocks of mineralization that are potentially mineable. So there's room for expansion. Our thought is that we're taking this to the point where we'd like to bring in a mining partner, and we can do simultaneous exploration, but we really want to move on to some of the new targets. So that's what we've done here, is developed a number of these low sulfidation systems. These are pretty interesting because there's a lot of new understanding of these deposits. So for example, we now know that there probably is a fabulous gold deposit being formed underneath the Yellowstone hot spring system. You're not going to mine it, it's still hot, but probably 1 million years ago, right above the Hishikari deposit right here in Japan, that was probably happening, but now the banded vein system here is one of the world's richest deposits. It's about 45 grams gold, it's about 13 million ounces of gold. They're about halfway through mining that. So we think we have a property that's very similar to that, and I'll show you some of the evidence for it. The Highland project, you can see it's great terrain, typical Nevada. There's not a lot of problems. There aren't any fishing villages or anything like that. The ground is eroded more on the west than on the east. So on the west side of the property, there are a number of veins that are exposed. The magenta color are over 2 grams per ton. And those are surface samples and dump samples, and the red is over 1 gram. So there's an extensive area of mineralization in this area here. The eastern area is covered by sinter, and it's an extensive area. It's about 3 kilometers long by a couple of kilometers wide. And so we did a drill hole back in 2023 over in this area, testing underneath one of the veins. And we got some very exciting results, a lot of drill holes around it. This is one of the burps that came up higher, but it's probably not the main system. There's still a target here. And then we have these areas over here. Well, how do you explore those? Well, there's some pretty interesting work that's been done over the last 20 years. Some of that was shown here in this study that came out. This was done, it was sponsored by Oceana, and there's a unique situation in New Zealand where there are modern geothermal systems that are very well studied, well exposed, and then there's a parallel trend of basically fossil systems. These are significant. There's a significant amount of mineralization that was developed there. So basically what these people did is they looked at the fossils, the thermophiles, the creatures that are alive here in the modern system, compared those to the fossil system in the fossil gold deposits. And, these little critters haven't changed in 16 million years. So, we can use these same features. These are textures that are described in this presentation from 2016, but these are from our deposits here. So we actually have identified a geyser, a historic geyser structure over here. So we're going to take a look at one of the targets. This is on the south end of that center area. We have sinter exposed over here. Some of the sinter fossil thermophiles suggest that you're not in the core part of the hottest part of the system, but it's still pretty warm. And on the west side, we have the flow dome. The top of the flow dome has silica ooze that's flowed over the side. So we know we're near the paleo top of this system. The colors that you see there are CSAMT. It's one of the geophysical techniques that picks out structures. We see a number of structures here. I've called those the F1, 2, and 3, 4. It turns out when we've drilled some of these holes here, we've drilled from alteration and trace metals into almost fresh rock. So there's been a significant amount of flowage laterally, which is something that you see in modern hot spring systems. And we feel like this is probably the structure that the fluids came up. And the reason we think that is some of the drill cuttings that we see in here, we see textures in the quartz veining. Geochemically, it suggests that we're very high in the system. So if we look just at a rotation of this along a long section there, this is what we think is happening. The top of the hill is the paleo surface. We know from a lot of deposits now that have been well described that most of the better gold mineralization is going to be below about 150 meters depth. So that 150 meters is here. The only drill hole that we have into this target is right here. There's anomalous metals. The quartz stockwork is something that you tend to not get along the strike in these veins. So we think that's one of the upwelling zones. So this past summer, we permitted this series of holes here from drill sites that are along a road, easy access to get to. Thought is that we raise some additional money, drill these two holes in here, and we have enough holes that we could actually start outlining a resource if we're successful in finding the mineralization. There's some drilling farther to the north where we've identified that geyser, that fossil geyser. We do have some gold around the edges. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.